Nick Beucher has never been one to avoid hard work, simply because he has always enjoyed working. Born December 9, 1916, Nick grew up in a devout Catholic family, the second of 5 children. Eager to learn, he quickly absorbed his parents' knack for business, while adopting his father's advice of everything in moderation. After graduating from Campion High School, a Jesuit boarding school in Wisconsin, Nick attended Chicago's Loyola University for 2 years, where he studied business. Then, in 1936, Nick Beucher of Wilmette, Illinois, began his sales career with the Morton Salt Company, selling salt to grocery stores, bakeries, meat markets, and feed companies in Chicago's western suburbs. After 4 years of being Morton Salt's Outstanding Salesman of the Year, Nick broke his leg in a local rodeo show, which abruptly ended his sales career. It was during his month-long convalescence at St. Francis Hospital in Evanston, Illinois, that Nick decided to fulfill his dream, riding the length of Mexico on horseback. So, in October of 1939, at the age of 22, Nick and his good friend Tex Bunteen drove to Del Rio, Texas. They crossed the Rio Grande and went to General Quinones Ranch, which was in Villa Acuna, Mexico. There they met General Quinones and his family, and together with his sons, 2 wild horses were rounded up in the hills of Coahuila. They broke the horses for the American cowboys, and in about a week's time, Nick and Tex saddled up and headed south to begin the ultimate adventure, a 1,400-mile journey on horseback through Mexico. At the time, Mexico was a frontier without fences, very primitive, quite dangerous. Well aware of the bandits who roamed freely, stealing horses and robbing the locals, Nick and Tex always carried their 6 guns, just like everyone else in Mexico. With pack horse in tow, they rode as far as they could each day, some days covering more distance than others. When crossing over mountains, sometimes 10,000 feet high, they made about 10 miles, while other days, on more level terrain, they covered as many as 30 miles. They ate and drank whatever and wherever they could. Meals were cooked over campfires, clothes were washed in streams, and at night they slept out under the stars. On one occasion, the Mexican cavalry took care of shoeing the horses. Curiosity about these Americans drove some of the soldiers to even ride with them a ways. The people just loved to see the mounted duo ride through town. Nick wearing his Stetson hat, leather vest, and pearl-handled 6-gun was once mistaken for the popular American movie cowboy Ken Maynard. When the pair finally arrived in Mexico City, the locals somehow found out about their adventure. Newspaper people escorted the American celebrities to the downtown office, where they posed for a cover story with El Universal's editor and the mayor of Mexico City. The headline read, Un viaje a caballo desde la frontera norte a Mexico, which translates to a horseback trip from the northern border to Mexico City. After 39 days in the saddle, the adventure was over, and Nick and Tex were homeward bound on the newly opened Pan American Highway. The Border Patrol stopped their bus 50 miles shy of the United States for vaccinations. Only after the vaccination could the pair return to Del Rio, pick up their car, and head home to Chicago. The horseback journey and the December homecoming were caught on 8mm movie film by Nick. To this day, one of his favorite memories of the trip is the experience of riding alongside one of Pancho Villa's men for a few days. The Mexican adventure was the one and only time Nick was south of the border. Upon his return to Chicago, he went to work for Nick Beucher and Sons, his father's rendering company, selling and shipping hides around the world. 6 months later, on June 15, 1940, he settled down and married Margaret Fortman, who worked at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. Focused on the future, Nick started his own brokerage business, Packing House Byproducts Company, on April 1st, 1942, the same day he and Margaret celebrated the birth of their first child. In the years to follow, the family grew to a total of 6 children. The Chicago firm also grew, expanding into the buying and selling of cattle byproducts worldwide for meat, tallow for soap making, feeds, and hides for leather. The brokerage aspect alone included offices in Chicago, Boston, and Jersey City, with a staff of 35 brokers. Nick's career escalated, and his achievements were so well recognized in the industry that after serving 1 year as vice president, he was elected president of the National Hide and Leather Association for 2 years. In September 1964, Nick responded to an advertisement in the Wall Street Journal and acquired the Floridan Country Club in Howey-in-the-Hills. Both the 18-hole golf course, built in 1926 by Charles E. Clark of Troon, Scotland, and the clubhouse were operated by a staff of 10. In the 1960s, greens fees, including cart and tax, were just $6.24. And for $1.95, you could enjoy dinner and dancing on Saturday nights. The lakes and fairways on the 168-acre site were full of weeds and no irrigation existed. Regardless, Nick saw great potential and a bright future in the rare and gentle rolling hills of Central Florida. He focused the initial years on renovating and expanding the 1920s clubhouse. The badly neglected golf course was restructured, automatic irrigation was installed, and hundreds of trees were planted. Inspired by the Mexican architecture he had witnessed 30 years before, Nick made the decision in 1969 to create a Spanish colonial golf resort with overnight accommodations and dining facilities. Thus, the captivating Mission Inn Golf and Tennis Resort was born. In 1970, the main lobby and La Posada de San Miguel, a hotel wing with 64 rooms, opened. A couple years later, the two-story restaurant complex and the Plaza de las Palmas courtyard were completed. By 1973, the leather and meat industries were changing, so Nick decided to retire from his brokerage firm and devote himself entirely to developing the resort business. 40 additional guest rooms and the Plaza de la Fontana, with meeting rooms and gift shop, opened in 1976. Then, responding to an ever-increasing demand for meeting and banquet space, El Nuevo Mundo Conference Center and the Grand Foyer were completed in 1979. By the mid-1980s, further additions included 68 more guest rooms, 15 luxurious condominiums, and Marina del Rey, a 52-slip yachting center on Lake Harris. Then, in 1992, the new clubhouse featuring Knicker's Restaurant and Las Colinas, the second 18-hole golf course, were unveiled. Legends, a beautiful clubhouse banquet hall, opened with unmatched golf course vistas in November 1996. And now, in 1997, Mission Sonoma, a residential development, will be available on El Campeon, the original golf course layout. Over the years, members of the Beucher family have joined the business and actively operated the resort. The Mission Inn you see today is a direct reflection of the visions and tireless efforts of Nick Beucher and his entire family. Now, in its 35th season, Mission Inn is more beautiful than ever. Throughout the resort, ongoing programs of expansion and improvement continue to assure uncompromising luxury in service and accommodations for visitors to Mission Inn. Once again, Nick Beucher has set out on an extraordinary journey and achieved his goal. Over the years, all 6 of the Beucher children and their families have moved to Howey-in-the-Hills. It is Nick Beucher's belief that without his family pulling together, Mission Inn wouldn't be the success it is today. Nick Beucher is a man of vision and a pioneer who continues to pave the way for a great future through his discoveries and ambitions. Discover for yourself why Mission Inn is such a great place to vacation, to entertain, to convene, or simply to relax.
I guess with all that, I expected to say a few words. My daughter, I think I'm going to change her name to, what is it, Cecil DeMille? My thanks to all the Garden and Civic Club members, to the Historic Preservation Board, to all the friends of Howey-in-the-Hills, and to all the people that are here that I hope will enjoy the day with us. I thank you all, and as I thank you, it recalls many memories that I've had here, and I don't want to bore you with them all, because that would take until tomorrow. But I recall things that we did here in the old days, and it was very, very nice. People like Harvey Heisey, C.B. Griffin, Martin Saposi, so many people that I enjoyed being with in the old days. I don't remember all the names, but I do remember Harvey sitting at the end of the bar in the old clubhouse, and he would say, "I'll have another Chivas Regal." Those were the days, I'll tell you. $1.95 for a dinner and dancing, and I would dance with Maribel Griffin. And as we went by the orchestra, which was from Leesburg, I would have to keep the drummer awake. It was past his bedtime, you know. You know, for me to say a few words, that's very easy because, like Bob said, I'm a doer. My wife she's a talker. I hope I got that right. My dear friends, I feel very, very grateful to all of you. It is a great honor that I never, ever expected. You know, when I was a young boy, I had an application in with the Morton Salt Company. You probably wonder why there's a few things over there about Morton Salt. I came back from Mexico. I worked for my dad for about 6 months or a year. And then I had an application in with the Morton Salt Company. One day, Mr. Tom Rankin invited me to come down after 6 months and be interviewed. So I went down, and he said, "Young man, we're going to give you a job as a salesman for the Morton Salt Company. We're going to give you a territory. We're going to give you a company car." And he said, up till then he hadn't said what he was going to pay me, see? So finally he did, and he said, "We're going to pay you $125 a month. And at the end of 6 months, if you don't make good, we're going to fire you." The only thing I ever sold in my life were holy pictures, you know, that my mother had me take around. So I could see I was going to be fired. So I said, "Mr. Rankin, why pay me so much?" He said, "What do you suggest?" I said, "Well, pay me $100 a month." That was more than I was making lugging beef on my shoulder. I was getting $16 a week then. So he said, "That's a good idea. We'll pay you $100 a month." I thought I was smart. I lost $25 a month before I even started. Anyway, what a career I've had. I really enjoyed my life, and above all, I've enjoyed almost 57 years of being married to Margaret Fortman Beucher. She is the love of my life, believe me, and my family, my children. And they are all wonderful people. I carry them on my tie, as you see. 16 of grandchildren, 6 of my own children. And now, to add to our family, a Cecil B. DeMille. Isn't that great? Thank you very, very much.